Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to our latest HTS research webinar. We're really excited to have everyone join today to talk about a hot topic in the travel industry, flexibility. Today, we're going to be digging into insights from our latest Hopper Technology Solutions report, The Flexibility Imperative. We just released this report a week or two ago with some of the latest research coming out of HTS Research on how flexibility is reshaping uncertainty in travel. We're finding that flexibility has really shifted from a nice to have, something that customers appreciate but isn't table stakes, to a competitive necessity to meet rapidly changing consumer needs. I'm really excited to dig into the results of this report. We're going to hit some of the key insights, but as always, our reports are available on the HTS website, hts.hopper.com, and we'll have a QR code at the end so you can easily download the report so you can dig in a little deeper. Before we jump in, I want to briefly touch, for those who are less familiar, on who HTS is. HTS is the technology that powers global travel commerce. On our own platforms and platforms powered by HTS technology, we process more than $6 billion worth of travel sales each year. We have access to almost 900 million credit card customers globally through partnerships with banks and credit issuers. And every year, we have more than 2 million customers buying our fintech products through partnerships with many of these fantastic brands and more. So we are really powering global travel commerce from many different avenues, and that gives us a really unique position to look at consumer trends and try to get ahead of those trends, so we're always maximizing the opportunity. To talk about flexibility, we have to start at a high level. What does flexibility look like for your average flyer? How are they using voluntary flexibility? And then we're going to dig a little bit deeper into what that experience really looks like, and that's where we're going to find the biggest opportunity for voluntary flexibility. We know that flight changes and cancellations, they happen for personal reasons and are usually unexpected. Today, about 6% of recent flyers say that they've canceled a flight in the previous 12 months, and about 14% say they've made a change to a flight. Now, these are changes coming after they've booked and before day of travel. What I find really interesting about this cut of data is not actually the general population cut that I'm showing you here, but a deeper dive. When we look at segments of the highest value travelers, those travelers who are flying multiple times a year, are frequent flyers, business travelers who are flying for work, often a frequent flyer segment as well, and younger travelers, Gen Z and millennials, those who are building wealth, defining preferences, and really prioritizing travel spend. This is where we see a significant step change. Travelers who fall into these high-value segments are changing and canceling flights 2 times more often than the average traveler. Over 25% of these segments have changed a flight in the last year alone, and more than 10% have canceled a flight in the last year. So our highest value segments of travelers are already exercising their own voluntary flexibility significantly more than your average traveler. When they're making these changes, primarily personal reasons, whether it's a family reason, a schedule or logistical change, in some cases, even making changes before weather hits, some pre-trip weather concerns. We'll touch a little bit more later in the webinar on disruption specifically, but this is an increasing need for flexibility as weather and unexpected interruptions are happening more frequently. But these are truly changes for personal reasons, often unexpected for the customers themselves. And that timeline of when changes and cancellations are happening is very long. More than half of changes or cancellations are happening more than 3 days before departure. About 25% are happening at least a week before departure. So there's a long tail of customers who are exercising their own personal flexibility and plans well before the flight takes off. There are about 25% of customers who a day or two before are making one of those more last-minute urgent changes. But only 1 in 5 change or cancellations is happening same day. So there is a bit of pre-planning going on when it comes to these adjustments. Next, we asked customers who had executed a change or cancellation in the past 12 months what their experience was. And the results were mixed, but definitely concerning. Though 37% of respondents did say they found the process easy, the next most popular descriptive terms for the process of changing and canceling were much more negative. Customers said that the process was stressful, frustrating, time-consuming, and in many cases, confusing. This is not an ideal experience for a growing population of high-value travelers who are exercising voluntary changes. If we double-click into what drove that stress, frustration, confusion, there are a few key factors. The first is time, how long it took to resolve the voluntary change, and sometimes how long it took to reach the right person to help make that change. About a third of travelers say that too many steps or long wait times are why they felt so frustrated and challenged by the experience. Unclear policy and rules, lack of clarity, and this is a really important one because customers, when they are at the moment of making a change, it's not the time where they want to feel confused and feel like they need to do a lot of research to execute a simple change. We saw about an additional third of customers said unclear policies or rules and confusion is what made their experience with the change so unpleasant. And the last piece is the financial impact. We know that travelers today are facing severe economic headwinds. Everyday goods and services are increasing in price. Travel budgets are under pressure like never before. There are often high fees associated with making these types of changes, even though they're happening more and more often. And at times, 1 in 5 customers said that how long it took to get their refund was part of the reason that they felt so stressed and frustrated. It's a time where speed and efficiency, especially in an AI age, are becoming increasingly important to consumers. And today, that exercising flexibility experience isn't meeting customer needs in the right way. I spoke to the financial impact of flexibility, and this is an important theme to double click on because a lot of customers did say that they were surprised or confused by incremental fees that they incurred when trying to change or cancel their trip. More than half of travelers who changed or canceled a trip in the past 12 months paid some kind of fee in order to exercise that flexibility. Of those who incurred a fee, more than 3/4 incurred a fee over $50. Again, at a time where wallets and budgets are very tight, this is a high toll for flexibility that we know customers are looking for. When we think about the value of a ticket and how much of that ticket value is retained by customers, it's surprising that 3/4 of customers who exercised a voluntary change didn't get to keep all of their ticket value. Some of them got no refund, they lost the whole value of the trip. A larger portion got a partial refund to their original form of payment, which is typically customers' preferred refund method. A little less than half received a travel credit, but most had either a travel restriction or a fee deducted before they received that credit. And just 26% of customers said they got a full cash refund for the value of their trip. Again, at a time where travel budgets and wallets are feeling a little extra burn and tightness, given all of the economic headwinds, higher ticket prices, it's a time where we should be thinking about how we can keep the experience and the value within the ecosystem and as whole as possible. So we know that flexibility is something that more and more customers are actively exercising themselves. And that means there's an opportunity for us to improve that flexibility exercise experience and drive incremental ancillary revenue and customer satisfaction. When we ask customers who are planning to take a trip in the next 12 months, overwhelming majority say that the ability to change or cancel their flight is important. Unsurprisingly, our highest value segments, those who fly for business or leisure, Those who are younger are ones saying that even more than the average traveler, flexibility is something that they're increasingly valuing. When we ask customers, how likely would you be to buy an ancillary product that gives you some level of enhanced flexibility when booking, the results are really clear. The average traveler, almost 2/3, say that they would be likely to purchase incremental flexibility when checking out. And we see our highest value segments well over-indexing the average traveler. Frequent travelers, nearly 70%, say this is something they would be willing to pay for. 3/4 of business and mixed purpose, those bleisure travelers, would be willing to add on their trips, and 72% of Gen Z and millennials. This is a really important insight because it tells us that travelers aren't just exercising that voluntary change and eating the cost. They are willing to put money up to give themselves incremental flexibility if given the option. And what's very interesting about that is just offering flexibility, just offering enhanced optionality to customers is going to increase the positive brand perception of that brand. We asked customers, would you be more likely to book with a brand offering some sort of enhanced flexibility like this before you book your trip? And again, the results are overwhelmingly positive. Customers say that yes, they would be more likely to book with a brand offering them a product that directly meets this incremental need for flexibility. And this is the root of the opportunity that we identified in this research, that easy to exercise flexibility has now become a necessity to drive loyalty and satisfaction from customers, especially in these high value travel segments like frequent flyers, business travelers, and younger travelers. Luckily, we have tested a product for many years now that seeks to directly address the challenge that's facing need for incremental flexibility, need for a more seamless exercise path, and a product that can drive incremental value to the airline or the platform selling it so that it's a holistically positive product. HTS Cancel for Any Reason has been around for a couple of years now, and it's a product that consistently receives positive feedback from both customers, partners, and platforms selling. I want to talk a little bit about what CFAR looks like. That's our acronym for Cancel for Any Reason, to help you understand how we're directly addressing some of the challenges that we've just covered. CFAR acts as an ancillary. It's available to buy as you are shopping and booking your flight, whether on a travel platform or directly on an airline's website. It is offered either as an ancillary add-on or sometimes a bundled fare that shows right up with the other inventory that you're looking at in a grid example like here. And Cancel for Any Reason is as simple as the name implies. Customers pay a fee to add the ancillary like any other ancillary in the funnel. If they want to cancel their flight at any point before 24 hours before their trip, they simply go to their app, website, wherever they've booked, choose to cancel, and will be given a full refund, an 80% to 100% refund, depending on the product that they purchased, with no steps, no approval process, just an immediate refund back to their original form of payment. We merchandise this product upfront. It's very simple to communicate to customers because it's allowing customers to choose the level of flexibility and refundability that works for their plans and their budget. And it's a product that really resonates with customers. We have seen attach rates right around 8% at the high single digits. And even more important, the customer satisfaction on this product is through the roof. We see 98% customer satisfaction, and we see incredibly high repeat purchase rates. You'll see that this solves two of the key challenges that customers are telling us that they see today. One is they need increased flexibility options. They want enhanced optionality. They want the choice to make something more refundable if that fits their needs. they're also looking for seamless exercise. The second half of the experience is as important as offering the refundability. When customers come to exercise their cancel for any reason product, it's a seamless and very easy funnel. They simply go to, maybe it's a trip details or manage my trip tab, click the cancel my booking button, and they're immediately taken to a cancel confirmation page where they'll be given a quick recap of the cancel for any reason product that they bought, the level of refundability that can be applied, and will select their refund method directly back to original form of payment. And with one click, the entire process is complete. From a customer standpoint, this really addresses some of the key challenges raised. This isn't a frustrating, time-consuming, and expensive process. It's 2 clicks, easy. Policy is very simply explained, keeping things very clear. And it's quick and directly back to customer's original form of payment. We really sought in this product to directly address, go straight to the bone on what customers are looking for, while also optimizing for clarity, speed, and ultimately that customer satisfaction. Now, we've had this product in the market for a couple of years, and one of our fantastic partners is Air Canada. They sell cancel for any reason on their own direct channels, and they are a really great case study for how you can deliver increased satisfaction to your customers while also driving ancillary revenue and profit per passenger. So you'll see here on the right examples of how Air Canada has merchandised this product directly in their funnel with clear optionality for customers who do want to increase the level of flexibility of their trip. We see on Air Canada, on average, cancellations with cancel for any reason are coming in about 3 weeks before departure. And this is a really critical number. 21 days is how long, on average, Air Canada has to resell that liberated seat. When a customer exercises their cancel for any reason, HTS covers the cost. We cover the refund, the airline retains the value of the ticket, but they also retain the opportunity to resell that liberated seat at a 21-day advance, giving them a healthy amount of runway to try to optimize for a little bit more profit, getting another consumer in that seat now that it's been released. Attach on Air Canada is around 7%. And through partnership between HTS and Air Canada, we've been able to optimize the economics of this product to increase the performance over 2.5 times since launch about 2 years ago. And the best part about the simplicity of cancel for any reason is that self-serve resolution. 98% of customers who made a cancellation using CFAR did so through the self-serve automation pipeline. That means they weren't on the phone to Air Canada customer support front lines, and they weren't in a chat trying to solve their problem with a chat agent with some sort of delay. They're able to immediately resolve their own cancellation directly in the funnel. We don't just see positive outcomes for the customers themselves and for Air Canada's revenue. We also see how offering a product like this that increases the general flexibility of a product drives positive brand perception. We're looking here at a snapshot of news coverage from the announcement when Air Canada shared that they would be offering this increased flexibility to customers through cancel for any reason. The response was overwhelmingly positive. You'll see major Canadian, American, and international trade press speaking to the increased flexibility that Air Canada is giving customers. But what I find even more interesting is it's not just FocusWire, Travel Week, and Travel Weekly, and BetaKit who are quoting how interesting and exciting this enhanced flexibility is. It's also Air Canada's own customers in Reddit threads and in Facebook threads where they're trying the product out and sharing the positive experience they've had with it. I really like looking at cancel for any reason from this perspective because it gives us a more full picture of how optionality and directly addressing consumer needs can enhance the entire brand perception of the provider who is selling. So whether this is offered directly on the airline's own website and it's enhancing the Air Canada brand as it is here, or if you're a bank or credit issuer offering a travel portal, selling it there also drives the same halo effect. So when we look at flexibility as a whole, here are the key learnings that I see from this really in-depth look at how flexibility is being used today and what the opportunities are. First is that your high-value travelers are already exercising their own necessary level of flexibility. Our frequent flyers, business travelers, and Gen Z millennials, they are changing trips 25% of the time. They are canceling trips 10% of the time. They're already exercising this flexibility. The problem is their current experience is subpar. It's confusing, lacking in clarity, and takes too long. There is a huge appetite for a solution to this flexibility problem, and customers are willing to pay for it. They say so in survey data, but we also see with our own cancel for any reason, they are willing to put their money where their mouth is. And that's where it all really shakes out, which is HTS Cancel for Any Reason is offering airlines and bank platforms who are selling flights to customers a seamless solution. It is a product that makes customers more likely to book with the brand, has incredibly high satisfaction, and is directly solving a challenge that right now many customers don't feel is being addressed. So we've talked a bit about what I would call voluntary flexibility. Now, we can't talk about flights today without talking a little bit about travel disruptions. And this is what I would classify as involuntary flexibility necessitated from customers. We know that in the past couple of years, we've seen a really significant increase in the volume and severity of major disruption events. Unfortunately, these events are coming even at a time where airlines and airports have been optimizing for on-time arrival and takeoff, where they are improving efficiency and staffing. Many of these major disruption events are actually coming from forces outside of the airline or airport's control. And a few examples are listed here: international conflict, government shutdowns, an increase in the frequency and severity of very significant weather events, whether it be flooding, hurricanes, blizzards. All of these are driving an increase in what we call major disruption events. These are news-making events. The way we define it at HTS is a day where more than 10% of scheduled flights in a region or country have been canceled on departure, a same-day cancellation. And customers are feeling the concern and anxiety that this increase in disruption is bringing to them. For travelers who flew in the last 12 months, disruption really feels like the new normal. Of those customers that we surveyed, 25% say that they experienced at least one delay of 2 to 4 hours. 15% say they experienced at least one delay over 4 hours, and 15% experienced a flight cancellation. This tells us that our customers, and especially those high-value customers who are traveling more frequently, are experiencing significant disruptions regularly. And that's factoring into their psyche, how they think about travel, and how they shop and book for travel. When we ask customers to rank their top concerns for future travel, it becomes very clear that flight cancellations and delays, unexpected changes to their plans, are the biggest source of anxiety for travelers. Even when pitted against things like finding the best deal, price volatility, even health and safety concerns, flight cancellations and delays rise to the top across every segment of traveler as the #1 concern for future trips. This is important because we spend a lot of time working on making sure customers can get the best prices, the best inventory, have all the right information. Airlines have done a really fantastic job with improving that entire shopping and booking experience, improving their own efficiency, on-time arrival. But at the end of the day, it's these unexpected disruptions that are looming very large in customers' heads. And that's what's driving their concern for future travel. Now we know that disruptions are happening to customers. What we wanted to dig into next is what is their experience if they do experience a significant disruption. Now, for the sake of the next couple of cuts of data, we only looked at customers who experienced a significant disruption. And significant disruption to us means a delay over 2 hours or cancellation. Oftentimes, travelers are experiencing shorter delays that might slow down their travel, interrupt their trip a little bit. But what we really wanted to understand is, how are those more significant disruptions where you won't make your connection or you might miss the concert, how are those impacting the consumer experience? Overwhelmingly, customers feel that they're in the dark when disruptions happen. We see that more than half of travelers who experienced one of those day of travel disruptions were in the dark to a degree when the disruption happened. About 40% of them heard about the disruption either from a gate agent at the last minute or from reading a board at the airport. Many of them went into the airline's app or website and found reactively that their trip had been changed, they had been delayed or canceled. And some even heard from other passengers. Ideally, passengers want to hear this information as soon as it's available, and there's a clear information gap between when these disruptions happen and when customers learn about them. A key part of this timeline is the amount of time it takes to resolve a disruption. Now, if you're the last person at the gate to find out that your flight from Boston to New York has been canceled, that also means you're probably the last person in the queue to speak to customer service or to get on the phone lines with customer service if there isn't an agent available at your airport. And this is how we get to the length of time it takes to get a resolution to your disruption. When we asked customers, how long did it take for you to have a full resolution where you knew when you were getting on your flight or you knew that you had another flight booked to take you onto your destination? 43% of travelers did not have a full resolution within 2 hours of learning of their disruption. Now, these are customers who are already at the airport, already at the gate, trying to find a solution to a disruption to plans that they probably made long ago. Only 15% of customers said that they received a resolution in under 30 minutes. So the surprise and frustration that customers feel is definitely being driven by lack of information and how that lack of information is impacting how long it takes them to get a resolution. The cost of disruption is not just that lost time. It's financial. About 83% of customers who had a disruption and had to pay something spent at least $50. That could be additional meals, additional transportation. At times, it's somewhere to stay overnight if they've been delayed until the next day. And 50% of customers say that they experienced anxiety or stress, which is no surprise given we all know that day of disruptions are extremely stressful, especially for those traveling on a tight deadline or traveling with families. Now, there's clearly an opportunity to improve the disruption experience. As airfares continue to rise, as consumers continue to think about how they optimize that travel wallet, and as these disruption concerns loom big in their heads, there is an opportunity to better meet this customer concern with a solution that gives them the autonomy to solve disruptions themselves. When we asked this subset of customers who had traveled in the previous 12 months, would you be willing to pay for more optionality in the face of disruption? The answer was a very resounding yes. 63% of recent travelers said that they would pay to add a rebooking option when booking a flight if it meant that they would have more autonomy and flexibility when that disruption hit. We also heard from customers that if they were offered this additional flexibility, they would be more likely to book with that brand. Going back to the idea that offering the right mix of products has a positive impact on brand perception, not just of the product, but of the entire platform, whether it's on the airline's own website or on something like a bank portal website. Offering a rebooking service that directly addresses this customer need is going to drive incremental customer sentiment and incremental loyalty. Disruptions are inevitable. We know that no matter how much airlines and airports optimize for efficiency, We will still face unexpected weather, unexpected labor force interruptions, even conflicts that can change on-time arrival and how airlines and airports can perform. How brands respond to the inevitability of disruption is what will really influence customer loyalty long-term. Now, I want to talk about HTS Disruption Assistance. This is our response to increasing disruptions and increasing dissatisfaction with options available to customers when disruptions hit. I know many of you in our audience are already familiar with this product, maybe even sell it on your own channels. So it's a product that is definitely increasing in customer awareness as disruptions continue to loom big. Disruption Assistance is an optional premium ancillary add-on that helps customers navigate day of travel schedule disruptions. So within 24 hours of a customer's flight, HTS begins to monitor that flight for significant delays, so delays over 2 hours, or day of cancellations. If one of those disruptions impacts a flight, we proactively reach out to the customer directly into their cell phones with a notification and email and let them know about the disruption. From there, customers are given two very simple options. One is rebook on the next available flight, regardless of the airline. If they are stuck at the airport and all of the flights on a particular airline to a particular destination are unavailable, they can rebook on the next available flight that is leaving at the gate right next door, even if it's not on the same airline. If customers would rather keep their disrupted flight, maybe they're willing to wait 2 or 3 hours for the flight to depart, they can receive a refund for that ticket, so they fly for free. The product is completely self-serve. You just move through a self-serve funnel. You're given 2 choices to get a refund and keep your flight or rebook on the next available flight. And customers can self-serve that entire experience. This product is incredibly highly resonating with customers. We see an 82% repeat purchase rate. That means that 82% of the customers who have bought Disruption Assistance, when they come back and book again, they are adding the product a second, third, or fourth time. And this is what tells us that there's a real loyalty hook to a product like this. Customers who buy the product and use it see the value, and they also associate that incremental value, that positive experience, with the brand where they booked the travel. And this is the really interesting part. If I book directly on an airline, I add Disruption Assistance, and I'm faced with maybe a major flight cancellation, using this product actually increases my likelihood of wanting to book with that airline again. This is the loyalty hook that is so fascinating about directly addressing a customer need like disruption, because it shows us that addressing a customer challenge can eradicate the negative association of a disruption and instead turn a rather negative experience into a loyalty-driving experience. The disruption exercise flow is very simple. As I mentioned, we proactively alert customers, give them a heads up that something has changed. We give them a choice. They can either rebook their flight and we'll give them all of the options available to them, or they can travel for free, get a refund back to their original form of payment, and continue with that disrupted flight. Now, I mentioned that we've seen a wide range of different major disruptions, and I want to speak to one we saw last fall and how Disruption Assistance really fit the bill for airline and customer needs at a time when there's very much an unprecedented amount of disruption. Late last fall, the US government experienced a shutdown, and that resulted in the FAA reducing flight space, reducing the number of flights taking off. That resulted in an 80% increase in travel disruptions out of the United States and a 400% increase in the number of customers with a Disruption Assistance product who used that product. Despite the mass cancellations of flights and the chaos at airports, the negative news cycle around disruptions and how they were impacting customers, we saw a 91% customer satisfaction score for customers of disruption assistance, and 94% of them were able to self-serve resolve their disruption directly in their app or website where they booked. This is critical at a time when customer service frontlines are overwhelmed with customers reaching out, looking for help. Having a product that helps customers immediately reach a resolution, that eliminates one more person in line to speak with the gate agent or on the phones waiting to speak with an agent over the line, is a critical way that this product helps ease the customer support burden of major disruption events. Even more interesting is attach rates on new bookings saw a huge spike for adding disruption assistance. We saw a 15.4% attach rate on new bookings for trips happening well after the government shut down, as customers recognized their own anxiety and the value of paying a little bit extra for optionality when they do face an unexpected disruption. So what do we learn from this deep dive into disruption? I think disruption is something that everyone understands is very top of mind for travelers. It plagues customers as they are going through the planning, shopping, and booking experience. And their main concerns are not just losing time, but also the financial impact and the stress and emotional impact of being majorly disrupted. The current disruption experience for many customers is overwhelmingly negative. They don't have the information they need, they feel behind the ball, and it takes a very long time for them to resolve their disruption and have the security to know their plans are going to continue when they will arrive to their destination. Proactive rebooking services like HTS's disruption assistance for any reason drive loyalty and revenue. They are a profitable ancillary that directly addresses a customer need. And I want to repeat the repeat purchase stat, which is 82% of customers who use this product come back to the same brand and book with them again and buy this product again. And that's really the biggest signal to me that giving customers optionality and flexibility at a time where they feel relatively helpless, they're at the airport with no flight or a significantly delayed flight, has a huge impact on how they associate positive energy with the brand that they've booked with, rather than associating that more negative disruption experience with the brand they've booked with. Now, we've gone into a lot of depth here, but there's much more in our full flexibility imperative report available at the QR code here. We've dug into just two of the key insights available in this report. These are mostly tied to flights and the flight booking and traveling experience. Next week, we will be hosting another webinar focused on the hotels side, how customers are looking for more flexibility when booking and staying. We'll have that webinar next week. If you would like to reach out with any questions, we're always available to answer. We're available at htsinsights@hopper.com. Feel free to use this QR code to download the report, see some of the more in-the-weeds data around flexibility and what we've learned from customers. And as always, please feel free to reach out to your HTS business development contact if they're the one who invited you for any additional questions. We thank you so much for joining and hope you tune in again for another HTS research report.